The war between Universe 11 and Universe 7 continues as all hope seems to be lost for our heroes as Vegeta intervenes to conclude his battle with the new god of destruction Toppo, as the stage is now set for both Toppo and Vegeta to settle their differences as Goku is left battling Jiren alone as Frieza and 17 do what they can to keep Universe 11 off sync. What is going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 126 review entitled Surpass Even a God, Vegeta's Desperate Blow, leading into next week's exciting episode of Dragon Ball Super episode 127, which promises to be an action-packed episode as we dwindle on down to only 4 episodes remaining until the conclusion of Dragon Ball Super on March 25th, 2018. And it's kind of sad to see everything being rushed so quickly, but of course you have to understand that the movie's being put into production and more or less the teams are trying to focus more on producing the upcoming movie in December. But in the meantime, as we near episode 127, what an episode 126 was. Vegeta and Toppo literally slugging it out, and the reason why I wasn't able to do my review a lot sooner was because, for those of you out there who don't know, at least now you will know that I'm an athlete, I'm a professional wrestler, the stuff that you guys see on TV with WWE, and I had a match tonight and I wasn't able to be home during the time of Dragon Ball Super having to air, but instead I watched the episode in the back in the same locker room as the Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart, low-key Amazing Red, so I actually had the privilege to not only perform in front of thousands of people, but also kick back and watch some Dragon Ball. So if you guys like the Dragon Ball content that I provide on this channel, then make sure you guys punch that subscribe button with notifications enabled to be the first to receive all the latest in Dragon Ball content and be a part of the Dragon Ball squad. And also don't forget to follow me on these social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, to stay connected with me at all times, hashtag Dragon Ball Squad, as we roll into Dragon Ball Super episode 126. And in my opinion, just to give it to you straight, this was a very enjoyable episode, but you can clearly tell that they are rushing everything. As an example, what was the point of introducing a god of destruction in the middle of this fight when you knew the end result was Toppo having to get defeated by the very end? And I personally, if it were not for the overall tournament ending during episode 131, I feel as if they could have marinated this a bit more in giving us more substance for Toppo's character, in allowing to see him fight other characters such as, possibly Goku, Vegeta, etc. But this episode, as good as it was, I feel like, number one, respect to Vegeta. Vegeta did his thing. I absolutely love how aggressive he was in this episode, because despite the chips being down and Vegeta trying as hard as he could to keep up, he did his thing, and for that, I've always given Vegeta respect. But I did not think, I'll be the first one to admit, I did not think that Vegeta was gonna go past Jiren during episode 122, because Vegeta has a track record of always getting his ass beat by multiple different characters. Frieza, Cell, Majin Buu, Kid Buu, Beerus, getting, knocked out by Hit, getting stabbed by Goku Black. Vegeta doesn't have that good of a track record in coming back from fights, but in this tournament arc, he's done a fantastic job. And I think that, going up against Toppo, it was a clear-cut example of how impressive he was as a fighter and how much he's grown. So it was really impressive, but I think the one thing that really gravitated me towards this episode that much more was the ending, and seeing Vegeta use the final explosion, thinking about Kaba, finally thinking about his family, and he used that to his advantage in generating all of that power to blow himself up in an effort to eliminate Toppo. But the only thing that I didn't understand was how Vegeta managed to emerge out of this explosion unscathed. It really took me back, because as I'm watching this, I said to myself, wait a minute, how come this dude isn't either blown to pieces or turned into stone or something? So that to me didn't really make any sense, but I really enjoyed how they went back and they showed us a flashback of Majin Vegeta blowing himself up against Buu. And what was really impressive was seeing how Majin Vegeta was going up against Hakai energy, and despite Toppo, you have to give him credit, despite Toppo having to combine his Hakai blast in formulating this massive ball of energy and going against Vegeta's final explosion, it was really awesome to see, because at first we see how the Hakai energy was able to completely engulf Vegeta, and at first you were wondering to yourself, okay, is Vegeta going to walk away from this unscathed? Is he going to possibly cancel out the final explosion? And in the end, we get to see how Vegeta's light was shining through the Hakai energy and then completely eradicated Toppo, which I really did enjoy, and it's because of Vegeta's final explosion as a result, in which left us with half of a ring. And what really blew me back, what really blew me away, was the overall ending when Jiren was standing on top of the rocks and we see, you know, Toppo in the bleachers, and the first thing that Jiren said was, "How pathetic. I expected more from you. Congratulations, everybody. You managed to defeat Toppo, but now witness true power." That line alone, when Jiren stepped up and kicked Goku on the side of the cliff and he looked at everybody, that alone was an indication that you are not going to fuck with Jiren, because at this given point, it's literally down to 1 versus 4, and I'm going to make a video talking about this and pretty much breaking everything down throughout the week. It was so cool to see how, in the end, Vegeta did his thing. The real MVP of this episode was unquestionably Vegeta. He did everything he could in managing to topple a god of destruction, someone that has Hakai power, and I really did enjoy that because I wanted to see what the end result was going to be from Toppo versus Vegeta, and I think it paid off for every single Vegeta fan because we got recognition. We finally got to see our boy Vegeta do his thing in toppling a god, so that was pretty cool to see. The fight with Frieza in 17, that was blatantly obvious. I really enjoyed how Toppo was using the Hakai Blast to break through rocks and trying to figure out where 17 was. Also seeing Frieza come back and, you know, capitalizing on using energy together against Toppo was pretty interesting because they kept shooting all of the rocks around Toppo and trying to pretty much cave him in with all of the, you know, objects around him, but Toppo managed to survive that. So the one takeaway though was seeing how casually Jiren was acknowledging the fact that Toppo was in trouble, and I felt as if there was only one good scene where Jiren looked at Toppo, Toppo looked at Jiren, and they kind of gave each other like the nod as they, you know, swapped places. And what was most interesting was to see how Vegeta at first, he was struggling, and Toppo was no joke. The only thing that got to him was Vegeta was a bit more crafty, obviously I would say more powerful, had more fuel to him, because as Vegeta was sitting in that crater after he got kicked, he was sitting there and he was saying to himself, "I will not lose." But at the same time, he was questioning Toppo and saying, "Wow, that's the exact same guy that I fought previously? Like that's insane." So Vegeta himself couldn't even believe as to who he was going up against, because he came to the realization like, wow, Toppo has grown so much during that. It was inconceivable at first. And I have to give it up to Vegeta's resolve. I did not expect to see the final explosion. I really did believe at first that we were going to see the Gamma Burst Flash, something else, something out of the ordinary, but instead they flipped the script and they gave us the final explosion. Now the only takeaway again for me was the fact that this move is supposed to kill you. Like, unquestionably, if you blow yourself up, looking at this from a logical standpoint, if you blow yourself up, there should be nothing left of you, right? But now we get to see how Vegeta, his armor's torn off, his pectorals are popping, his biceps are out there. The dude looks like he's about to beat the crap out of somebody. So I cannot wait to see what the end result is going to be, because as we head into the episode coming up with episode 127, it's as clear as day that shit's about to go down. But seeing how well Vegeta performed in this episode, I really don't have any doubts within him as he goes up against Jiren. However, towards the end, it was really ominous in the way that, you know, Belmont and Kai were talking about Jiren and saying, hey, it's all down to you now. And to me, it almost looked like Jiren didn't even give a damn, because the way Jiren came off of in this episode, the way he acknowledged everybody, the way he went about everything, he didn't seem like he cared. And then in the very end, he told everybody, behold, I will show you my true power. And in the episode preview, we get to see how Jiren has like 2 auras behind him. It's fiery red. It's just mind-blowing. So to me, I definitely feel, and I prognosticated this, you know, many months ago, I do believe that Jiren is going to clean house. And what was interesting was how Beerus even said to Vegeta how Vegeta had used up, you know, more or less all of his energy in doing this. And by the very end, there were only 3 people standing, 17, Goku and Vegeta, and Frieza was nowhere to be seen. So I definitely think that Frieza is going to be kept more or less, you know, to be used later on. But I'm calling it right now. 17's going to go. Vegeta's going to get the shit kicked out of him because, listen, he has nothing left. Vegeta at this given point, as according to Beerus, he barely has anything left. And the way and the way Jiren said how pathetic, I expected more. Even Goku himself acknowledged what he just said in saying, hey, how could you possibly say that about your own teammate? And as we get to see Jiren approaching the cliff, he looks on over and said, you gained this much power without casting anything aside. You know, congratulations on defeating Toppo, well done, but now you will feast upon real power. And the whole moral purpose of Vegeta getting the upper hand on Toppo was the fact that obviously he even told Toppo, how in the world could you throw your pride aside? How could you throw your pride aside in, you know, misrepresenting yourself? I mean, this is not who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to represent justice. That's your pride. That's where you stem from. And I loved how the overall message was Vegeta fighting with his pride. It was incredible. So for me, this episode, as I was watching this on the phone, as I watched this the second time going home, it was incredible. It was really incredible because seeing how far everyone's come to now fight the final person, it's going to be an epic showdown, and I feel like in the end, Jiren has something up his sleeve that will put him leagues above everybody else, because the way he was so cocky and so arrogant and, you know, so nonchalant towards the end, it looked like he literally didn't have any concern at all. And you have to ask yourself as to how much power Jiren is holding back, because at this stage in the game, he has to give it his all, otherwise, you know, everyone else from Universe 11 is going to get erased. So Vegeta, definitely MVP. Props to 17, props to Frieza. Poor Frieza, he came in there, he tried, he got decimated. So for Frieza's character, I feel as if, you know, they're gonna save him more or less for like the actual ending, which is really weird looking at it now, because this kind of foreshadows the Dragon Ball Heroes ending mission, or at least one of the opening cutscenes to where we saw Goku and Frieza fighting against Jiren. So it might come down to that in the very end, but this episode to me was phenomenal. You could say what you want as a fan. You can like the episode, you can hate the episode, you can call it an ass pull, but for me as a fan, I enjoyed it. And if you don't like what I have to say, you can just suck these nuts, because for me, like I said before, I'm a Dragon Ball fan. I do appreciate well-written stuff, and to me, the only thing that took away once again was the final explosion not killing Vegeta. I will repeat that. That was a huge flaw in the episode, but I think that visually, you know, having to see the way everybody was fighting, the story behind this fight was really good. And if you weren't able to pick up on what was really happening in this episode, but instead of watching it with your brain off, then you're an idiot. So Vegeta fought with his pride, got the better of Toppo. Toppo's trash, I'm sorry. I mean, they built him up to have high energy and, you know, to be a candidate, to be a god, all for him to get foddered this quickly. I lost all respect for Toppo. Toppo is nothing to me. It is what it is, and I feel like hopefully down the line, we'll get to see more from Vegeta as we now close off the tournament with Jiren being the only one left for them to fight. So, but in the end, I would like to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below about this episode. Did you guys like the episode? Did you guys hate the episode? What were some of your pros and cons? What are your overall thoughts on Vegeta versus Toppo? And what are your overall expectations for Dragon Ball Super episode 127, because we are going to be covering the preview in the morning, and we are going to more or less talk about our predictions in the upcoming predictions video. And it's very, very awesome to see the way they're handling the tournament, even though it feels rushed. In the way to where it feels rushed, they're actually trying to piece things together and allowing it to make sense. And now it's literally coming down to the final remaining minutes, as it's do or die for Universe 7 and for Universe 11. So I want to know what you guys think about the ending of the tournament. Like, what are your overall prognostications for that? Throughout the rest of the week, we are going to be doing discussions, Q&A videos, and loads of other interactional videos that we are going to be doing together as a community. So make sure you guys are following me at Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, to be up to date whenever I'm going to be doing these videos and asking you guys for your thoughts and your comments and getting a response out of that. So either way, guys, thank you all so much for watching this review. I'm going to go and rest up. My body feels a bit banged up, but not before getting that predictions video done and pretty much sharing my thoughts as to how I feel about next week's episode, because this week's episode, I can safely say that I was right and wrong on many different things, and that's okay, because that's what predictions are for. You make a prediction in either being right or wrong. So it's been done ever since the beginning of mankind, so hopefully enough we can do that and talk about 127. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and if you guys are new, hit that subscribe subscribe button, guys. Turn on all notifications. Tune back in for more, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Cue my outro, bitch.